Yeah, I think it was Thursday. Every summer we go to a place called Slabtown, and it's out in Uxbridge. They've recently bought an old armory in Aurora, and the armory has it was an army like a decade ago, and then some local culinary group bought it and they were serving food out of it, and then that kind of folded, and then Slabtown has bought it. So it's like their Aurora branch. Anyways, we've gone to this place. We usually will go like every summer, and we've kind of noticed. Now, I will preface this with, if the algorithm picks up on this is not me slamming Slabtown at all. So we're going to get into a little bit of a food review. So we're going to get a little bit of Clough's former life in this moment, right? The craft that I've been trained in, besides teaching, and a little bit of old habits die hard. So here's the kind of thing. So, anyways, we've noticed. So we've been there 4 or 5 times. We've noticed kind of a decline in quality. But what's interesting, the place in itself hasn't declined in popularity. Like, if you don't book early, you're not getting a dinner reservation between like 5 and 7. Like, on any given night, they're quite busy. So good for them. They're still making money. But we have noticed that certain elements of hospitality have changed. Like, it's not quite as tight. The food's not quite as good. So this time I decided to contact, they asked for the feedback. Well, you know what? I'm going to give feedback. And the feedback was things that, I get that food is expensive right now. But if you're creeping up on spending $200 or just over 200 on a dinner like that, I think there should be certain non-negotiables that come along with that. And it's not like we were doing massive drinks and everything, but dinner for four adults, coming in around 230, you're sort of doing $30 a plate plus drinks, like one drink each. So, that's almost like, hell, you go to Casey's for dinner. And if people are doing appetizers, you could be coming in at like $40 a person. Easy, easy, between their entrees and a dessert or an appetizer. So a little bit more upscale place, or a little bit more popular, we kind of accept that's the cost of food and cost of going out. So this is not a question about that. What it kind of has to do with is me noticing in general kind of a decline in the service industry. In a little bit, I'm noticing it more and more that, you know, part of this, like this whole idea, like how any place where you go to get service is entitled to a tip. And you and I have talked about that on, episode 276, I'm sure. This, the autograt, right? I would have had a really interesting drawing with autograt on it if I was still doing the artwork for our pod. So here are the four things that I noticed, and these were the four comments that I let them know. And I was complimentary. Our server, we tipped well. We put in like 18 or 19%. Um, the server was knowledgeable, kind, knew how to hit the table at the right times, wasn't too much, wasn't too little, was good. There was an issue. So one of the things that I uh, would have been a number five, except it was fixed beautifully. Um, when when Maddie's dish was brought to the table, it was supposed to be a pesto cream sauce, and the it was gnocchi. You had gnocchi before, like little potato dumplings, right? It was just sitting in a pool of oil, and you could see that they had broken the sauce. Like it wasn't homogenized. There was oil, and you could see the butter solids on the sides, whatever. So I called over the server and I said, "Look, I said the sauce is broken. They've overcooked it. Do something about it, please." The server afterwards said, "Do you run restaurants? Like, do you know?" Because it's not typical. I guess it's not typical for a customer to actually use the tech term that the sauce is broken. Like, that's we've talked about this from an educational perspective. When the person across from you starts using the acronyms and jargons that you're using, you're like, oh shit, this person is on the inside, right? We got to make sure that we're clear here. There's nowhere to hide. So, anyways, I complimented them because then the man, it was, they actually took it from somebody else. Somebody else had a dish coming for a different table, and we got theirs, and then they went and fixed somebody else's, which I thought was, it's a reasonable move. I will, from a hospitality perspective, that can cause problems too. You just take somebody else's meal and give it away. But I think you're sort of like, what's the best case scenario here to keep someone happy, right? I can always go to the other table and say, it'll just be 2 minutes. You can sort of bump somebody off, but to have a table already eating and not have one of the clients eating, that's more of a problem. So I was complimentary in the feedback. I said, this is fantastic. Manager team found out, and they removed it from the bill too. Fantastic. Here are my issues. There's a bus station near, so where we sat, it's funny, we've sat in this area. Last time we were there, we were one table over. Like, we were in the exact same area. The time before that, we were 2 tables behind us. And then a time before that, we were 2 tables over. So we've been within this one little area somehow every single time. The 5th time when we were there, we were outdoor on the patio. So that's just another story altogether, which was absolutely fine. It was delicious from there. So here's the things that I noticed. From my point of view, I could see a bus station where they would sort of like grab the cutlery and the table plates and the glasses from. Also at that bus station, so this place serves a lot of pizzas. They offer this garlic aioli. So I'm watching. So Maddie and myself are on this side of the table. Karen's back is to this, so she can't see this happening. I look over and I can see the servers filling these little plastic cups that they put the aioli in to bring to the tables. On 2 occasions, I see servers get the aioli on their hands and they lick their hands, and then they don't go and wash them. One of the servers then puts a couple of the aiolis on a plate and then walks past us and is fixing his hair. Like, he's literally like adjusting his hair with his other hand, and then goes off and serves his table. So I commented on that. I commented on the kitchen. The kitchen is an open kitchen, and we were within spitting distance of the kitchen, which is fine. But here's the thing: if you have an open kitchen, you have to have a disciplined kitchen, because you can never say that, oh, yeah, I know it's loud, but you were sitting near the kitchen. That's not the thing about an open kitchen. You have an open kitchen because obviously you want to do something, you want to be kind of showy, and you're kind of like all good that way. But that means you have to have a highly disciplined kitchen. You don't get to sort of allow for foolishness. And I put in the feedback, I said, we've noticed progressively horseplay and bro play, just joking and guffawing and the kind of backslappery that is not what a disciplined kitchen is about. I said, third, the if people are coming out of the kitchen, so if staff are coming out of the kitchen, because there's the back kitchen as well, I said their uniforms have to be pristine clean. Pristine clean. They can't have any stains on them. They can't have flour slaps. I said, one of the people, kitchen staff, came out. He had a black apron on, and they had these big flour handprints on it, like either been doing this or wiping. I know back in the day when I was running restaurants, if any of the cooks came out of the open kitchen or the back, they were told, you have to put on a clean apron. You can't. And if I went out into the dining room, I changed my jacket and apron altogether. So there were some things, and the first response I got, which was kind of funny, was OMG, the aioli and the male servers touch their hair way too much, Lori. Like, that was, and I'm like, I know. So I don't know who Lori is. Lori might just be the person that receives the comments. But then I got a more formal response from Vivian, and kudos to Vivian. Vivian's the general manager. She says, I would like to talk to you more about this. Tell me when you're available. So I haven't had that follow-up conversation yet. But it reminded me in some way. Like I said, I'm digging back into my old. There was a fourth thing too, but I don't remember what it is right now. There was another thing that I commented on. The service station, the fixing of the hair. Yeah, I don't remember. There was another thing. Oh, yeah. So, Karen's dish, delicious. It was a green curry. The proteins were overcooked. So this became a lesson in cookery. Often, so there was shrimp and chicken breast. Here's the thing, all you culinary people of culinary interest. Both shrimp and chicken breast are fairly lean proteins. You have to be really cautious when you're cooking them to not overcook them. Because both of them, when they become overcooked, the shrimp become rubbery and chicken breast becomes almost impenetrable. Like you can't even cut it with a knife when it's overcooked, right? Chicken thigh, you have some space. Chicken thigh, you can cook the shit of it, still stays pretty tender. So her curry bowl, both the shrimp were really tough and the chicken breast was like almost uncuttable. So I said to them, I said in there, I said, I'm imagining that I said, if the dish starts with a saute, as in you put in, maybe the aromatics and then you put in your shrimp and you put in your chicken and you give it like a stir fry. I said, if you continue to cook it, because then there's a sauce in there, if you continue to simmer it, then you're going to make it super tough. Like if the protein stays in there right from the beginning to the end of the dish, I said, I said conservatively, let's say it takes 7 to 10 minutes to make that dish. Neither the shrimp nor the chicken breast can tolerate that. It's too long to be cooking it. You generally want to saute it, get the flavor in the pan if you want, and then pull it, and then do your vegetables in there, get them, then reintroduce the protein again, then put in your sauce and your noodles. Like it's a very specific kind of order of operations so that everything maintains its appropriate doneness. It doesn't get to be all overcooked, right? So that was the fourth thing that I put in, a cooking lesson. But when they brought back the fixed gnocchi, the manager was like, "That was embarrassing." She goes, "That was really embarrassing." She said, "That was a terrible looking dish." I said, "Well, I just knew the sauce was broken." And then when the next one came, it was beautiful, nice and creamy. It was a basil cream. Everything looked nice and balanced. So, but it reminded me of, and I think I told you this story when we first became friends. Back in the early days when I was running Baton Rouge, Karen and I went out for dinner and we went to like a local East Side Mario's. And it was just a horrible experience. Horrible. So horrible. And I was so righteous in how I wanted to deal with this. And that I gave the manager one of my business cards. And I said, you can come to Baton Rouge. Dinner's on me. And I said, you pay for your drinks, but I'll pay for the entrees. I want you to experience what real service is. Did I tell you this? Do you remember? Yeah. So, and they did come for dinner.
Really?
A couple weeks later, they came for dinner. And I stopped at the table. I said, I hope you enjoy your meal. And they were just chuffed. They were so pleased, so pleased. But I will tell you, back in the day, we had customer service nailed. We knew exactly how to stay on top of it. It wasn't like only certain people could run your food. You were never left unattended, and it was never over the top. You knew you were cared for. But as I'm offering up these, one, I was kind of proud of myself that I could still speak the jargon. It's still there, right? But two, I had a little flashback. I'm like, yeah, I remember when you used to do this more often, try and educate people on how to do it better. So that's my culinary story. That's my Clough. But I'm stoked to have the conversation with the manager because I kind of laid it all out in the email. I think there's some little thing in my brain, like I would love to be like a secret shopper for restaurants, just to go and give them straight up feedback about things that I notice.
You know that I was once a secret shopper, right?
I think I do, but I don't know if I know I don't know if I don't remember the story. I think
I didn't.
I have a familiar sense with that of you, but I don't know the story.
You don't. But did I? So I never told you the story about the restaurant where all they had to do was offer me. All they had to do was offer me a Coke, and they didn't.
No, I don't know this.
Okay,
I
well,
don't know this.
buckle up
The
and call
floor
me
is yours.
Aldo.
Here we go. This is the college. So
This
we
is the
had no
culinary episode.
yeah, we had no topic. We had no topic 15 minutes ago, and here we go. We're getting into foods. Go for it.
Let's say good morning to Gary. What
Morning,
up,
Gary.
Gary? Welcome. This is season 9, episode 41, number 389. I did not do it, and I wasn't going to do it until you were done your story. Took us 15 minutes to get to the opener, but
Was the story okay? Was it okay?
it was. I enjoyed it. I died when you were talking about the aioli, like
Yeah.
licking the. Oh my god! If I saw that, I
It's
think
a
I would be
problem, right?
done. It is a huge problem.
I will say my only where I would have, let's say, lost my effing mind, it wasn't my server. So it wasn't any servers that hit my table. And I know in the big sense we could say that doesn't matter. Obviously, that's the exact stuff that, like, I think generally the mistake that restaurants can make is believing that it's um that, when the health inspector comes in, that they can kind of do a cleanup and they're going to be okay. You and I have talked about this. It's the same in education. It's the same in a lot of things. Savvy assessors watch systems, not just criteria. They watch systems. They look to see how certain things are integrated with each other. In itself, it is gross. It is absolutely gross to lick your fingers while you're working in hospitality, but it is made more problematic when you don't immediately go and then wash your hands with soap and water. Like, that's where you know there's a breakdown in the system. And that's where health inspectors will hammer you, absolutely hammer you. But go ahead, tell me about your secret shopper experience.
So back in the day, I was in university, and my sister was a secret shopper first, and I don't know how she found this job, but it was.
They used to advertise them all the time.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know
Yeah,
that they
yeah, I
were
saw them. I
advertised.
used to see them. That used to be kind of one of those mythical things, like getting that job or getting a job with the city mowing lawns. My friends were all, yeah, I can remember there used to actually be newspaper advertisements for it.
Okay, I didn't know that. So
Newspaper,
I know that's crazy
newspaper
too.
in the local paper. Keep going.
Yeah. So my sister, I guess, we had a handler. So I'm a secret shopper, and Chris is the guy that I always call and talk to. Chris is the guy that always emails me because there was email stuff happening. So we had a handler, and like they knew where we lived, and so because it was all telephone, I never met Chris. I never met the person
I
who
like it's like being a
it,
spy.
yes, I never met the person who would give me
Like
my
dead drops.
assignments.
You have to go to the
Yes,
park. You sit on the bench and they leave a newspaper folded around like your case file.
crazy, eh? Like,
I love it.
anyway, so my sister was a mystery shopper, and then I guess they asked her if she knew anybody who wanted to do it. So she's like, "Hey, Roland, you want to do this?" And the thing too it wasn't good in terms of, it was just an odd job every week or two, and it would pay you, like $30 plus a meal. So it was negligible, but good for someone like me who I'm like, oh, $30, that's a tank of gas for the week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I got no problem. I'll go to Wendy's and do their assignment. Either I get a meal or I don't. If I do, they're paying for it. So just worked perfectly, kind of thing for me at the time. One of my assignments was go to, I guess Coca-Cola was really pushing hard at this time, wanting their product, paying restaurants to push their product
Mm-hmm.
first. So I get the assignment, it was like a Kelsey's. It was one of these Kelsey's or Casey's type of places. Go to this place between these times. And I was like between maybe 11:30 and 2:30. So like a dead time in the middle of the week. And you're not eating. You're just going in, you're sitting down. And when the waiter or waitress comes up to you, they ask you if you want something to drink. If they ask you if you want something to drink, If they don't say to you, "Would you like a Coke?" right off the bat, you say to them, "Well, what do you have?" And I had a couple of prompts. You follow the prompts, and then they either pass or they fail. If they pass, if they did the Coke thing, their whole restaurant staff was getting like a pizza party, and it was like kind of a big deal for
Yeah.
such a small thing to do. But if you fail, then it gets reported back to Coke, I guess, that this restaurant, they're not doing what you paying them to do. Good morning, Rochelle. Welcome. And thank you for welcoming us back. Welcome
Mhm.
back to you too. So I go in and okay, so you got to picture this, right? I'm a university student. I walk in by myself at like noon on a Tuesday, and I was not treated well the entire time. At least my vibe was. So I walk in, the host is like, "Hi, can I help you?" I'm like, "Yeah, could I get a table for one?" She's like, "A table for one?" Like I just remember it was not, it should have been, of course, come with me. It wasn't. It was like, "Oh, table for one?" Yeah, table for one. So anyway, I get seated, and then I remember like the service wasn't good. Nobody came to me for a bit. And then when the person did come to me, she seemed off. Like she wasn't friendly. She wasn't friendly. She was like, "Hey, how are you?" or whatever. What kind of, do you know, like, would you like something to drink? I said, "Yeah, what do you have?" And she kind of did like a, "What do I have?" I'm like, "Yeah, what do you have? What pop drinks do you have?" So she runs through a list, and it was a long list. She didn't say Coke. Bro, I was like, I didn't understand. I'm like, e it's like Coke, Pepsi's like at the
It
top
is.
for
It is.
just in
It's like
general.
when you talk about pop or soda, Coke and Pepsi are like synonymous with soda or pop. Like it's that big, right? So that is
Yeah.
weird.
So that was weird. So she doesn't say Coke, and then I'm like, "Oh, so right there she failed." But I'm like, it's Tuesday. I don't know what her problem is. I don't know what's going on in this restaurant. I'm in no rush. I'm like, I'll do the right thing and just I'll give her another chance. Because right there I could have been, "No, you're done. Bring me the manager." And then I would have explained to the manager. So, and this was a big deal, and you'll find out why in a minute, why this whole thing was a really bigger than I would ever imagine, I guess, because I don't work in hospitality. So I'm like, no, I don't want any. I don't think I want any of those to drink right now. Could I just have a water? Um, I'm gonna take a look at the menu. She's like, "Okay." So she leaves. She comes back a few minutes later. She's like, "Hey, have you made a decision?" I'm like, "I'm really sorry. Tell me again what you have to drink." So imagine single dude
Two
who's like
chances, yeah.
20 years old. They're like, "What the fuck, dude?"
You're setting off alarm bells at this point, I
I'm
think.
sure they're like, "Who's this guy? What's wrong with this guy?" Which
Yeah.
is, that in itself is wrong when you start talking about a customer like that, right?
Yep.
Unless you're treating me like gold in front of me and then in the back you're talking trash. But I think they were just whatever. So she goes through the list again, doesn't say Coke. I'm like, "I want to talk to your manager." I went from, "Oh, I'm not sure what I want to drink," to "Bring me your manager." She's like, "No problem." Like she didn't even what he comes over, he sits down. I'm gonna say it, sleazy looking dude, a rogue manager. He
A
sits down,
rogue. There we
like,
go.
"My name's Roland. I work for," I don't remember the name of the company. "I work for this company. I'm a mystery shopper. I came in today. I had an assignment. My assignment was to sit down and be offered a Coke product, like Coke." I might have said, because there's lots of Coke products, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, "I was looking for your server to offer me a Coke right away." And he goes, and I said, "She didn't. She didn't offer it the first time. She was not happy that I asked her to give me, like, she didn't say Coke." And so, and I said that it was like, now that I think back, I'm like, wow, for a 20-year-old, I was kind of mature and
I
professional
was
in
gonna
that
say
moment.
you're doing some high level kind of like education.
But you know what it was though? It was the way I was treated.
Mm,
I was like, "F all of you." I pulled a Clough. There was no business card, but I was like, "You're gonna hear who I am. You're
here
gonna
we go.
know that
Here
I
we
know
go.
my job, right?"
Yeah, exactly.
I said, "She
Now, was
didn't."
it your also so as the shopper, was it also your mandate to do this moment and let the person know that they failed?
Yes.
Okay.
So sometimes no, I wasn't to tell them
But it
that
would
they
be told
failed.
in the assignment, and if they don't do it, you are required to then let the manager know that they did not fulfill their end of like the expectation.
And
So
I
you could be given those instructions in one of your assignments.
yes, there were
Okay.
times where they would say go in and do this and then just get the receipt, leave,
And
and then when
leave,
you
right?
get to the car, please note these five
Yeah, yeah.
things, whether they passed or failed. But most of the time, and I didn't get a lot of these go in the sit down restaurant and do this. Mostly it was fast food stuff, drive-throughs and stuff. So this
Right.
was a big one, right? And I was getting paid big for this too. So Coke, that machine, like they're like, we're paying these people a lot to say these things.
Yep.
Your guy all the money, send them in, right?
Yep.
So I said, look, I came in at the door. Nobody was happy to see me. So now I'm being righteous because I'm like, my assignment was this, but I'm going to tell you from the minute I walked in here, I'm not coming back here ever, like with my friends or anything. Like, I'm 20. I got cash. I'm university. I'm not coming back here. I'm not telling anybody to come here either. So he's looking at me. He's like, what? Tell me again. I'm like, all she had to do was offer me a Coke. She didn't even say the word Coke. When I asked her to, so then she fails, but I'm like, well, I'm not going to fail you right away. So, um, what drinks do you have? What are available to me to choose from? Goes through the list, not happy doing it either, and no Coke. So I told her I needed a minute, and he's just looking at me like this. So then she comes back, and I say, "Can you tell me again what you have to drink?" She's not impressed. She still doesn't say Coke. That's when I asked for you. He goes, "Are you sure we can't fix this?" Sleazebag. He's like, we can, are you sure we can't change this? Get you a meal, get you a gift card, you can have all the Cokes you want. I'm like, no, we can't fix this. You didn't pass. I'm telling you, you didn't pass. Um, I need your name. Tells me his name. I need her name. Tells me the name. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back out. I'm leaving now, and I'm gonna do my paperwork. And it was one. There were no cell phones, right? So there was no like quick email or quick phone call. It was one of those. I made my notes, and when I got home, I called and I reported it in. But even as I was leaving, and she's over in a corner with all her other people, and they're wondering what's going on, like
Mhm.
completely unprofessional in every single way. They're
Yeah.
gathered around a bus station, so to speak, and they're all like watching, and I'm like, what is going on here? And I'm kind of feeling bad because you should see when I tell people they won, that they passed, they're like their proudest punch, everybody's congratulating them. It's great. When
Yeah.
you fail, it's bad. So
It is.
I was like, F all ya, I'm out of here. I left, did my report. Now here's another good one. This is a pass one. So my first job ever was at a Wendy's. I got
Nice.
hired at a brand new Wendy's opening near my house, but we had to do training at other Wendy's in the city so that
Mhm.
when our Wendy's opened, we were ready. And the manager at the time was this dude. He was like, he had a nice big mustache, and he was this skinny, bald, black haired dude. He looked like a character from a cartoon. And we liked him. I didn't last long at Wendy's because into like 3 weeks of training, the Loeb IGA, where I wanted to work as a packer, finally decided to hire me. And
Mm.
my friends worked there. So I was like, I'm out of here. I told Wendy's I'm gone. I don't want to be flipping burgers or rather pack groceries. So anyway, I left, but my sister stayed there and she worked there for many years. Anyway, long story short, I get an assignment, go to this Wendy's, you know, half an hour away from where you live, and go through the drive-through and do this, this, and this. So I go, and it's a drive-through thing, and the lady does exactly what she's supposed to. So then when I drive up to the window, I'm like, congratulations, you passed your test or whatever. I'm a mystery shopper. I'm going to come inside. I need to speak to your manager. Well done. Thank you for doing. I had like a little speech. Thank you for doing
Yeah,
your.
yeah,
I go in. The manager is the dude that was my manager at Wendy's when he first hired me. He looked at me. He goes, "I know you." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Roland. I worked for you for 3 weeks, and I'm a mystery shopper today, so this is what happened. And I'll never forget, it was like this teenager, and dude, everybody in the you could see everybody in the restaurant, like all the employees in the back were like tapping her on the back, and everybody was genuinely happy for this kid that, and because I think they probably got a pizza party too. Like I think that was a
Yeah.
common thing. So it was like, you guys win a pizza party, you get this, this, and this, she gets this, this, and this. I'm gonna take my whatever it was at the time, my double patty Wendy's burger and fries and drink, and now go eat it in my car, and everybody wins, right? That was a cool job. It was just never there wasn't enough work to like make it worth your while. But as a university student already driving around to school and back or whatever, it made perfect sense to do it and get this little bits of money. And it was cool. Like I would get in this, I'd get an email. Once they knew that I was on the email, I'd get my assignments via email, but they still wanted me to call in and talk to my handler um, at the end of a situation. And then I would fill out a form and attach my receipts to the form and mail it into head office so that they
Oh
would
God.
reimburse me with a check. Like, so it wasn't even instant payment. It was like 3 weeks later, I got a check for $35 or something, right?
Yep.
Anyway, so there's my experience. But it's like, as you know, hospitality, and I know I've joked with you that the people running restaurants and working in the back are like prison inmates and like tattooed all over and don't care for life or whatever. I know I say that and I joke, but at the end of the day, nothing beats great service and a great meal. And I like Sarah and I and the kids are always very appreciative when we have a great experience. And at this point in the game, I as you know, don't put up with if I walk into a restaurant and I get a bad vibe, we're out. I'm out because I don't know what they're gonna do. I don't know how it could escalate. I don't know who's having a bad day, but don't mess with my food. Don't lick your fingers and then not wash your hands and let me see that. Like I'm done. I can't do that. Like I will never now go to that place. Even if I go to your place for Foodapalooza, you're like, you got to try. I'm like, dude, I'm not going there. Like you saw it happen. It's friggin' disgusting. I'm just not. I don't want to play that game. So yeah, when I go into a restaurant, if I'm not getting a positive vibe, I'm out. 'Cause I don't know what's going on. I don't know who hates who and who hates their job and what that's going to turn into when I get my food. I'm not interested.
Oh, hospitality stories.
And then yeah, and then oh, maybe I won't talk about what I was going to say something, but it's too close to home. I'm not going to say it. I'll have to tell you at some other point. But I was thinking when you said, you gave the manager your card. Imagine being like, look at us. Okay. So you got 3 educators in the room right now. Well, 4 educators, Gary's admin. Imagine Gary goes to school for a meeting and, deals with office staff who are not friendly and then gives his card to the principal.
Well, let's make it even. Let's raise the stakes.
Come
Let's
to
raise the
my
stakes.
store, I'll show you how
Yeah.
we
How about
do it.
this? Let's say Gary is at an inter board principals meeting, and he's hearing some stories from public school principals, and he slides the card just slowly across the table and says, "You want to see how this is done? You come to my school," and then just walks away.
Hilarious, eh?
Yeah, because that's kind of like what it is. That's the extra stake there, because I was not someone who was running an Eastside Mario's that was doing a better job. I was running a totally different restaurant and knew that they could learn something from it. And the things that we did were not secret. Like the way that we did service, any place could do it and you could take it and do it. Like it's like signature service is just a level of quality. You can copy it easily. It's the recipes, it's sometimes the food products that become highly proprietary, right? But the way that we did table contact and communication and table support, any restaurant could do it easily. You just had to commit to it. So I love that idea. Come and check out my school.
Yeah. How was the food on your cruise?
So it was funny. So the buffet's great. The Royal Caribbean does a great job of their buffets. This was a smaller ship. We sort of knew that they were used because they don't have to have the big, really popular ships, like the big ships, decked out with all the extra amenities. They don't have to do that for Alaskan cruises because the destination in itself is such a high attraction. The ship was fine. Absolutely fine. Ship's name was Serenade of the Seas with Royal Caribbean. So it was fine. Smaller ship than the one that we took when we went to the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
But the Caribbean cruises are like a dime a dozen. There's so many, right? So they really do have to, that's where they have these big superior level cruise ships that all go down there. So buffet was great. They did a great job, kept it fresh, kept it clean. For me, there was enough choice, enough variation. Coffee was okay on the ship. We purchased the drink package, which gave us I don't know, I think it was a maximum of 15 drinks a day or something like that. It was a ridiculous number of drinks. But it also opened up the specialty coffee options. So like I was having a caramel macchiato or a couple each day, which kind of nice. We booked, it's not a specialty dinner. So you could go to the buffet anytime. It's just part of it. In order to, if you wanted to sit down dinner, you had to, and there were limited times, you had to book a seating to go to the dining room. And that's like a formal sit down fancy, but still included in your meal package. You just had to do that at a time. So those meals were okay. Sometimes I found them borderline bland. Like they didn't quite hit the flavor that I was looking for. I will say the very last meal that I had there, the final night, it was lamb shank and it was excellent. Braised lamb shank. It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So that was cool. But yeah, overall, money well spent, no complaints. The server that we had. So what happens is on the cruise, have you done cruise before? I don't know. Do you? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you may know this too. If you did the dining, you have the same server each night.
Mm-hmm.
They have an assistant server that helps out. So they were the same people that helped us out each night. Same with the cabin. It was all great. It was money well spent. And the food was good. And I got to try some stuff that I haven't tried before. So that was kind of cool. It wasn't super adventurous, but it was decent.
Good.
Yeah.
On our first cruise, we had access to one particular restaurant all the time, but we were still we had made reservations at a couple of the other restaurants to try out their stuff, and then we wanted definitely to enjoy the buffet and try that out. So on the first night, we didn't go to the restaurant that we belonged to. And then when we did go on the second day, they welcomed us. And then on the third day, we didn't go back there. So when we went on the fourth day, they were like, "Is everything okay? Can you tell us what, why?" We came in, they were happy to see us, but then they interrogated us. At that point we learned that, we didn't know the culture, cruise ship culture, but
yeah, you gotta kind of like, there's some learning there.
Basically, they were like horrified that we weren't coming to eat dinner with them every night because we were part of this beautiful restaurant, but we were going upstairs to the buffet with the regular folk.
Yeah.
And I think Sarah may have said, "You break this down. Like, we don't understand why you guys we don't understand. Like, you're worried you're going to lose your jobs. We don't understand. You're doing a great job." They're like, Normally, when people belong to this restaurant, they come here for all their dinners. They don't go
Yeah.
anywhere else. And they're like, they just don't, they don't do that. And we're like, yo, we're young, first cruise. We want to experience it all. So we enjoyed being with the riffraff in the buffet.
Yeah.
Like, we love being here, but we wanted to have that experience. And they nicely said, do that at lunch and make sure you're with us every night for dinner. We're going to treat you like kings and queens. We're like, we're not saying you don't. It was cult like. It was like a group of them were like, is everything okay? We missed you last night. Are you not feeling
Yes.
well? Like, no,
I
no,
got
we're
that
fine.
vibe too. I
Yeah.
got that vibe too.
Anyway, so we didn't know what we had in that restaurant. Like, we didn't understand the the culture. We quickly learned, and then they quickly made sure that they were like, table 12, give them everything and just keep giving it to them. Like, we don't want them to not come back tomorrow night. And I'm like, everybody just settle down. And then I remember telling them, yo, we have like, we paid extra for a couple of the restaurants on the ship because of the idea,
Yeah.
the concept.
The
So
concept, exactly.
don't lose your mind. Like, we want to try the concepts. They're like, oh, we understand that. We already know that. Kind of like, we already know that. It's right here in your itinerary. And we're like, holy fuck. Okay. Anyway, so who knew that this would be the culinary edition of Decoded Podcast? That's what happens though when you got a chef. You got a chef, and then you got a chump like me who's just if I walk in, I don't get a good vibe, I'm turning around. My family hates that about me, but I'm like, you guys want to stay somewhere where the whole time I'm gonna feel like a weirdo, and who knows what's going on, right? And it's the classic. I think I've told you this. If we walk in somewhere and I say to my wife, we need to turn around and leave now, don't question me for 30 minutes. Question me in the car, because she's like, why? What do you see? What happened? Da-da. If I say we gotta go, we gotta fucking go. Like, for me, it's urgent. It's not, yeah, let's have a 20-minute conversation before we turn around and leave.
The yeah, we've run that way too. And the family just knows. The family just knows. They know that they know the depth of my experience. They've seen how I interact. They know I'm being respectful. Um Often it's just they didn't notice. They didn't notice, like, my family, like, they don't have the eyes to see it, right? They don't have the Yeah, they don't have the eyes to see it.
I think I get it.
It's I think what I like about it, I mean, part of it, I like that in that moment, and I'll definitely follow up with you after I have the conversation with the manager. I'll assume that there's not gonna be all that much confrontational about it, because the things that I mentioned kind of are non-negotiables. Like, there's nothing about that I mentioned that, one, couldn't be fixed. You would just have to have a very serious conversation with your staff about brand and the experience. Like, when I told them, my line about this is that your staff should not be having a better time than the customers. So if I can hear, like, that bro joking and silliness coming from the kitchen, and it's not like, I'm not looking for a monastery like, sorry, if I did see a monastery like kitchen, I would be impressed, because I know what it takes to sort of keep everybody cool and calm and on point like that. I would. If you can actually run a kitchen where you keep people in that zen mode, you're doing a really great job with the kitchen. And if you're still, getting the food out, like, where you're pushing stuff out in a good time, and you can keep everybody cool and calm, that is a definite indicator, and that would be across the board, really, even with your whole staff, right? But I look at the kitchen as a particularly highly concentrated hub of stress, trying to sort of coordinate all that stuff. But, like, when the kitchen was having all that jokes and kind of like standing and laughing, they are a part of the product. They are part of the experience. If you don't want your customers to include the kitchen in the experience, don't have an open kitchen. You're bragging about something by having an open kitchen.
Mhm.
So it has to present as a cool, calm place that is just doing its job really well. That's the actual gold seal of an open kitchen. The gold seal is that they're cool, calm, pushing out the food, not that they're having fun in the kitchen. Clients don't care. For the most part, clients don't care that if your staff is super happy and joyous. They only care if that somehow helps them be super happy and joyous. So, but either way, I mean, all that stuff is just it's discussions with staff. The cooking part, I'll be interesting to see how she addresses the dish issue that I took, because that very much is like food review, but it's also culinary science.
Right.
It's like it's an order of operations. You don't want to keep boiling your meat in water, like in a liquid. It just cooks the shit out of them.
I know you have to go, but Rochelle said at our last dinner on our cruise, I asked to speak to the chef, and the manager of the restaurant nearly passed out. I only wanted to thank them for the accommodations they made for my allergy.
Yet I'm sure after they made it through that, when they made it through that, everything was kind of fine, because I would say, yes, there's a bit of a stunner. I could totally see how that would be a stunner. Ali, who was the dining room manager, he was constantly in motion around all the tables. So that's a great way to preempt any of that surprise, right? And there is a certain brigade sort of level of things. So I will tell you, to be able to put it this way, Rochelle, I'll tell you, chances are the chef that you thanked had nothing to do with your meals on the cruise ship, right? That there would have been an other order of operation. Though I understand that, like, the person you talked to was taking thanks on behalf of, a commie, which is just like a station chef, who got the note that said, don't include pistachio in the dish, right? So I could totally see how that's someone who walks in the school and, the parent that wants to talk to the principal or compliment the principal, and they've never actually spoken to the teacher. Not that but it's similar, right? It's like Karen often will say, like, I don't even know why this parent's talking to me. I get it. I'm fine. But it's kind of like, they should really be telling, the department head, or they should be talking to the guidance. They should be talking to the complimenting the staff members that are actually doing that work, right? But yeah, I could totally see how asking for the chef, someone be like, oh, but they accommodated. They did it, right? Because they know that they have to represent. They were so the dining room, my experience with them, it was funny. They said, you're going to receive a survey at the end, and you basically want to rate all of your experiences in the dining room as number one. They flat out said that. And what made that really funny was, in the actual survey, there was a question that said, were you directed by any of the staff to give a good review?
Oh.
I put, yeah. But yeah,
Well,
I was. But I gave but it was also they also did a good job. Right? So it's not like I gave them a crappy review and then said yes, right? But it was funny. There was a question in the survey, were you directed by any staff? And I will say quite vividly, the dining room staff were the ones like, yes, make sure on the survey you say 10 out of 10.
Wild.
The one thing, and I didn't get into in this one, but maybe we can do this another time, and Rochelle can jump on this as well. I did a little bit of cloughing while I was on the cruise, and it's always fascinating. So on Royal Caribbean, one of the things that they do, maybe they do this on all cruises, they do a parade of flags. Oh. So they do the representation of where all their staff is from, and that was really cool, because it really is like the United Nations of holidaying. They had people from all over the freaking world. Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Okay, dude. Well, thanks for your time today, and thanks, Gary and Rochelle, for hanging out with us.
Yep.
This was season 9, episode 41, number 389 of the Decoded Podcast. Until next time, summer school continues.
Chat you soon, dude. Peace.